Hey everyone, and welcome to your GRC Weekly Roundup. This week, we're diving into a really massive shift where AI-powered compliance is colliding head-on with a huge pivot in government enforcement. So, let's get right into it and break down what this actually means. Look, there's no other way to say it. We are at a major inflection point. The whole game of risk management is being completely reshaped by these incredible forces. Everything from predictive AI to new national security priorities coming out of the DOJ. In this kind of environment, if you're standing still, you're already falling behind. So let's kick things off with the engine that's driving so much of this change: artificial intelligence. We're seeing AI pull compliance out of the dusty back room and put it right at the center of business strategy. For decades, compliance was just this manual, reactive grind, just sifting through mountains of data, chasing down an endless stream of false positives. But what if you could actually get ahead of the risks instead of just reacting to them? Well, that's the massive shift we're seeing right now, as AI makes a proactive, intelligent approach to compliance not just possible, but essential. And this isn't just some far-off theory. Get a load of this number. Specialized AI agents, like WorkFusion's Tara, can slash the time spent manually reviewing false positives from sanctions alerts by over 70%. I mean, just think about that. That's not a small tweak. That is a complete game changer for a core compliance workflow. So, how's this all happening? Well, you can think of these AI agents almost like digital members of your team, embedded right into your daily workflows. They're handling the heavy lifting, all those high-volume tasks like KYC checks and transaction monitoring. And what's really crucial is that they can pull data from both your old legacy systems and the new stuff, which frees up your human experts to focus on the complex investigations that really need their brainpower. Now, this AI-driven evolution isn't just for the world of traditional finance. Oh no, it is pushing right into the most disruptive frontier of them all: decentralized finance, or DeFi, which is all about building a financial system without the usual gatekeepers. This is a potential game changer, seriously. The US Treasury is now looking at embedding digital ID verification directly into DeFi smart contracts. What that means is compliance wouldn't be some extra layer you slap on top of a transaction. It would be baked right into the code of the transaction itself. We're talking automated AML and KYC checks happening at the protocol level. Okay, so when you have this kind of crazy fast innovation, you know the regulators have to adapt. And that brings us perfectly to our next big theme: a major shift in enforcement priorities, especially from the US Department of Justice. What's so interesting here is just how clear this pivot is. The DOJ is stepping back from what many critics called regulation by enforcement in the crypto world. Instead, they are putting a laser focus on what they see as clear national security threats: cartels, transnational criminal organizations, and, of course, sanctions evasion, especially going after financial institutions that help U.S. adversaries. And believe me, these are not just policy memos. The financial penalties we're seeing are staggering. Just look at recent CFTC actions. Courts are ordering these massive payments for fraud. We're talking everything from digital assets to, and you're not going to believe this, a cattle fraud scheme that ended up with over $100 million in penalties. Yeah? Cattle fraud. So the billion-dollar question is, right? How do these big policy shifts and massive fines actually translate into real, bottom-line risk for a business? Well, let's crunch the numbers. Let's just take the False Claims Act. Back in 1986, a single violation might have cost you, say, up to $10,000. Now, because of these annual inflation adjustments, that exact same violation today can cost you almost $30,000. This escalator effect means a risk that felt manageable a decade ago could be absolutely crippling today. But hey, it's not all about tightening the screws. We're also seeing agencies try to recalibrate their rules, to find a balance between risk and just overwhelming everyone with regulations. A great example is the CFPB looking at the auto finance market. Right now, its rules cover about 94% of all the activity, but they're proposing new thresholds that could actually shrink that number pretty significantly, which would let them focus their resources on the biggest players. All right, so let's pull all these different threads together. Looking ahead,
What are the key trends you absolutely have to have on your radar? First, we are absolutely watching for the final rules on digital ID and crypto. That could completely reshape the DeFi space. Then, over in Europe, we're waiting for the first enforcement actions under the EU's new AI Act. Whatever happens there will set the precedent for the rest of the world. With penalties for whistleblowers on the rise, you can bet that's going to drive even more cases. And finally, keep an eye out for more agencies trying to find that sweet spot between oversight and burden. That balancing act is really going to define the regulatory world for years to come.
And all of this really brings us to the most important question this week. As technology and regulation keep accelerating at this pace, it's crystal clear that your compliance strategy can't just be a static document sitting on a shelf. In this new world, the biggest risk of all might just be standing still.